This podcast features intuitive, psychic, and spiritual impressions provided for entertainment and personal development purposes. Nothing in this episode should be considered medical, psychological, legal, or financial advice. The host is not a licensed professional. All guests participate voluntarily and understand that personal stories or emotions may naturally arise. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the SAEL Podcast. My name is Farah. I'm a psychic medium and channel, and in this podcast, I channel healing energy and guide guests on journeys that serve their highest good. With every episode, we embark on a new teaching, new realizations, new ideas, inspiration for moving forward. I invite you to remember to guide your own being from within with every step you take, including while listening to each podcast episode. For every human being is unique and individual, and teachings may arise that may or may not apply to all beings, and they may not apply to the guests themselves in every moment of their lives, except for the moment in which it is shared. So I invite you to join and to listen with discernment, guided with your own inner knowing, to take on what resonates and discard the rest. Patience is kind. The spirit of patience is kind. It waits, it holds, it trusts, it knows, it gently guides. Patience is kind. And when we place expectations on ourselves, when we force outcomes, when we strictly desire to follow a specific timeline, we don't make room for patience. There's only room for the ego, the mind, the will, the personal self-interest overriding other people in the process as well. It's very subtle, can be very sneaky, but it needs to come out so that something else can take room instead. And that very thing is you, is me, is our essence, our authentic being, and the path that it naturally commands as a result of its being and expression fully and wholly. As a child, I learned to follow the rules, read the textbook, learn from the textbook, go and take a test, and lay out everything you've learned in the textbook. You don't go beyond it, you don't go above, you don't go below, exactly from the textbook. I moved abroad, and new ways of the same concept were introduced. Do your own research, find your own curiosity, but there are rigid systems through which it must fit in. And then came my company that I built in New York, and this was the first time when I allowed myself to step out of the box, not out of will, but out of demand and necessity. So I had to do something that nobody has done before. I had to do something that in my mind wasn't allowed. I had to do something that I didn't think was possible because there was no other possible outcome. I learned as I began my startup journey to build an MVP and present it to investors and ask for investment based on validation, user confirmation, audience, market size, etc. All these things that you put into place to prove a concept for a business that you want investors to come into so that it grows. No one taught me at the time that I had permission to monetize on my own. Nobody did. It was always about get the MVP, get the validation, raise venture capital, and now you're succeeded. And it's a very self-serving cycle that actually kind of stems from investors because that's how they create demand for their own funds. That's how they create opportunities for their funds. They want all the new startups to believe that they need investor money. They must take on investor capital. And so you see all these glorifications and beautiful announcements that are sometimes ego-driven and sometimes for genuine milestones in innovation that keep new founders in the cycle of seeking investment in order to generate profit afterwards. What if we flipped it around, and what if you decided in your being that you wanted to put something out in the world and ask for help immediately? And by asking for help, I mean ask for an equitable balance of energy exchange so that when you put it out in the world, you're also equally willing to receive for what you're putting out. So I put something out in the world and I'm open. I'm open to receiving value in exchange for the value that I have created. There's something even in myself personally as I channel this that goes, what? Don't I have to suffer longer? Don't I have to prove first? Don't I have to be willing to bootstrap and do the startup game? It's very interesting. I love that this is coming up. The way we do things before does not dictate how we must do them now, and it surely does not mean we must continue to teach others the same way. That's the path of sovereignty, of accepting the uniqueness of every being, every business, and every journey through which it wants to unfold. The rigidity that we place on ourselves is holding us back from receiving the validation, the exchange, the true blessing for what we create in the world. So why wait? Why hold back? Why wait? And this is where the ego comes in. The ego stands defense. Oh, but everyone says it needs to look like this. Oh, but I must prove that I also went through the difficult path. Oh, but did you know that they also had to suffer for 2 years in order to get what they wanted? Oh, but nobody told me I can. No one in my family had this before. How am I supposed to do that? What does that even look like? This is where we stop. I don't want you to answer that. I want you to trust that life has an answer for you specifically. That may look different than what you accepted for your life, or have been prescribed by other people's versions of that path. So what are you willing to accept for yourself? From your own inner core, in this moment, with all of your needs being met, with all of your authentic expression fully accepted, what would it look like? If you allowed yourself to strip away all of the belief systems and all of the needs to please and to belong in other people's versions of reality so that you feel part of their experience, with them, next to them, held by them, accepted by them. What if there's a reality in which that and you expressing in your widest capability and fully being acknowledged, validated, successful with it, were not mutually exclusive, but could also coexist and serve one another? There was a note that I wrote yesterday for myself when I began to think about the topic for this week's podcast. And it was the ego versus the mind versus the heart versus the intuition. And as I wrote that and I was contemplating over it, I was curious of what would channel in regarding this topic, because you guys, I have to constantly remind myself and other people the wisdom that flows is 99% of the time is not my own wisdom through personal experiences. There's a place for that and there's a room for that, but I don't feel like that's the reason for why we're here. I was granted a platform and this body and the willingness to receive so that I channel wisdom beyond who I am and share it with the collective. And so that I'm open and willing to be used as an instrument for the learning and the healing to flow of me for all of us in this lifetime and beyond, I think. And so it is. Let it be. The ego was placed divinely as a teacher. We grow to despise our ego, but it's the teacher. It's the best teacher. And the best kind of teachers pull the best out of you. They don't push you down. They pull the best out of you. And so the ego was divinely placed in our psyche to coach and teach us. And let's see a couple examples of what that looks like on a daily basis. Let's say I play soccer. I'm 16 years old and I play soccer, and I have this desire to be the next Messi. This person had this grand image in their mind. I want to be that. I want to become that. And let's say a couple of years in, they have an injury and they're no longer accepted into the team. They aren't able anymore to pursue this dream of theirs. And so they go back and recognize, where is this coming from? Where was this drive coming from? And it might have been a need, the need to justify talent, the need to feel accepted, the need to be perceived as they have perceived other top football players to be perceived. It's a need internally to be fully accepted, to feel enough, to feel desired, to feel wanted. And so that perhaps ego-driven need to be this kind of person teaches us how we can meet this need. Okay, yes, this was my ego driving me to do that, but it was to meet a need. So what is the need beneath this ego-driven demand? And one interesting differentiator of the ego versus heart is the ego has a way of, it needs to be this way and it cannot be another way. It must look like this. I will not accept anything else. It must be this way. It must look like this. It must look exactly like my friend has it. There are ego-driven needs that we have. Our mind negotiates with the ego. Our mind is an interesting tool. It's a tool, and it forms habits of behaviors through neural pathways. It learns habits. It can be conditioned. And the best part of that is through our conscious executive awareness, we can actually rewire those habits, learnings, and conditions in order of what fits our desires for our lives. And this could be both ego-driven and heart-driven, by the way. The mind is a tool. It's a very ancient tool. And the way that this mind has evolved through time from the very first occurrence of species who look like ours has drastically changed, and it can continue to evolve if we allow it, if we nurture it. And so our over-reliance on tools today that remove creativity, authenticity, speaking our truth, expressing is dangerous for the mind. And without the mind, we can't control the ego. We don't discern the heart, and we don't attune to the intuition. So we must take care of our minds. We must filter out the tools, accepted ways of being and activities in the world that numb our brains. And Farah might be guilty of this. We see Farah scrolling social media after hours. We see all of you watching TV and copying what's happening on TV in your personal lives. And you don't want that. Deep down, you know you don't want that. You've just accepted that this has been the mainstream path of survival of existence in the world. And it's time to get out and change the way. Not only for you, but for everybody around you, because everyone deserves to hear that the way we've accepted of how to live, survive, and exist as species is killing us. Our voice, our expression is now largely taken over by our consumption of TV, of social media, what we're told to do at our jobs. And the remedy is to create space, create distance and boundaries with TV, with social media, with what's in our lives, so that we can attune and hear what's inside and allow ourselves to express. We are here to be fully sovereign, fully authentic, fully expressing, fully alive. The mind is a tool, and we must filter. We must nurture the tool and give space for the tool so it tunes properly, like we tune in a musical instrument. We must take care of it. We must utilize its functionality fully, so that it doesn't atrophy. And we must remember that we are not our minds. And so in moments of dis-ease, episodes of depression or illnesses, it is important that we don't associate who we are, our core selves, with the mind. The tool could malfunction. That doesn't mean you are malfunctioning. There's a reason for the malfunction. So observe, care for, seek support, take care of it in the way that it needs. But remember that your identity is not in how your mind functions. It is not in your ability to control the tool. The tool is not who you are. The heart. The heart is the window. The heart is the window. It's a window through life force energy enters and flows. The heart is a window. The heart is a portal. The heart is like a valve that connects us to places, people, life, the divine, our creator. Heart is a portal from which we receive and through which flows our own energy, life force, joy for life, or maybe sadness. All of our feelings and energy that we store in the body, when we process it, it flows throughout of the heart because it's a portal, draws it out, cleans. It's not a door because it has a limited capacity of what comes in at once. It's a window, and the window knows how to be a window. There's various functionalities in most modern day windows, let's say. They open in different ways, from upwards, sideways, all the way. And similarly, the heart knows how it opens. We do have control over how fully we open the heart. Our heart can open like a window that's slightly tilted open from the upside, or open all the way. The heart knows. And this portal is energy of its own. It's pure. It must clear on its own if we let it. Those are the tears that naturally flow. The way we want to kick something, a pillow, when we're angry. The way we scribble down in our journals when we're feeling so much energy. The heart clears naturally. It wants to, but sometimes our minds, our egos kind of get in the way and say, not right now. I don't want to feel this. Why this? Why me? But the heart just knows. The heart wants to naturally clear if we let it. That's why we feel things, because the heart is like, okay, I'm ready to release this. I want to clear this now. And then the mind steps in and says, nope, I will not feel this today. Or maybe the ego has a need to protect and say, I don't know how to feel this. I can't feel this. Why this? Why now? Why me? It's important that we observe and learn from these elements that we carry within all of us, and not necessarily suppress any of it, because it all has a function and a utility and purpose. Divine intelligence. The heart is a portal and naturally clears. And when it's fully clear and open, it allows us to connect, create energetic connections and cords with people in our lives, with aspects of life. It could be a pet, it could be a book, it could be a show, it could be the trees. We all have the means to place energetic boundaries on how we connect through the heart from a relaxed, easeful approach, not a defensive, hurt space. The heart is actually very discerning of its own. The heart energy is pure, and so we must care for it, guide it gently, get to know it, nurture it. Heart knows, so let it. The heart knows. It's our inner guide, our protector, our voice, our peace, our love, our joy. This pure energy knows what is healthy and unwell within us and within our vicinity as well. So it's important to notice when we close off and why. Because it could be that we have not released previous past memories of similar dynamics. And so we shut down before we get to know, is this healthy or not? The heart has pure form, intelligence of its own. It naturally clears if we allow it to. And so I pray that we keep our hearts clear by respecting the heart's innate power to receive and release and purify on its own, place energetic boundaries on its own as it creates space for what it wants more of or what it seeks to let go of. So trust your heart. Intuition is the voice of divine within us. It's our reclamation of our worth, of why we're here. Intuition is a natural way of receiving guidance as a being, as a human. It's in every cell of our bodies if we discern. Intuition is more than divine wisdom flowing through us. It's life's wisdom protecting all of life for its oneness. Intuition is a gift. It's a must. It's guidance for you, for the collective, for me, for all of us. Intuition needs our attention and our discernment. Intuition is soft, peaceful, knowing, and cares for everyone, cares for the collective, protects our oneness with the divine, with life, with one another, with our own beings. Intuition is a divine gift. We must honor it. We must protect it. We must care for it, create room for it. Intuition won't guide you astray. Our mind can place self-saw interpretations on our intuition, causing misinterpretation. But intuition will not lead astray. So discern gently and be willing to receive the innate guidance that's available in every second, in every inch of everyone. It's the most loving gift granted to humanity to protect us and guide us inwards so we recognize who we are, what we are, and where we are in unity. So there we have reflected on the ego versus the mind versus the heart versus the intuition. Now let's practice discerning in our bodies what each voice sound like and feel like, so we grow to recognize deeper and more accurately which element is guiding a choice, an opportunity, an interest, or a curiosity. So let's begin with, I want to start a new business. I want you to sit back and discern where this voice is coming from in your body. I want to start a new business. For me, I feel it in my heart when I say that. I want to start a sovereign business. I feel my mind when I say that. My mind thinking, what does it look like? Oh, it needs to be a sovereign business. It can't just be any other business. It must be good. I have been experimenting with Shopify lately and working on putting together a concept that has supported my healing journey, and it also feels like a way to give back. And I'm really honored to share it. But I have struggled in the making of it because initially I wanted to make it this big grand thing that everyone can use, but all these mantras and all these things. And I feel both my heart and my ego here. Feel both the ego saying, but you can't do that. Who are you to do that? Why would you allow yourself to do that? Which is surprising because in my mind, I'd actually assumed it would be the opposite. Oh, maybe I'm not meant to be doing this. Maybe I'm only meant to be channeling and working with people one-on-one and serving my function as a psychic medium and channel and intuitive guide. Maybe that's what I need to be doing, even though I've had this genuine heart calling to put all these meaningful mantras that have moved me in the depth of my trauma recovery in the last few years. And yet, the ego aspect says, who do you think you are to do that? People in recovery don't start successful businesses. They don't make a lot of money doing that. Why would anyone buy this anyway? Why would anyone put this on their wall? Who would buy this? And I see the ego here has a need to protect, and that need to protect is actually coming from the fear of failure. What if I let it go? What if I give up on it? What if I want to do it for some time and then decide later, you know what, this isn't really working for me. I don't really want to do that. It's too operational. It's too this and this and this and that. It's not my thing. When I let go of my business in the US, it was very painful, very, very painful letting go because there were many parts of me that enjoyed it, loved it, and sought validation through it and received validation through it as well. And then there was a part of me that knew what I was doing was actually healing for people. And I wanted to continue doing that. And I was called in a totally different direction. Life happened, trauma came up, I moved countries across the world, and it was difficult to continue to build it in the same way that I was before, so I had to put a pause and eventually let go. And I forgive myself now for having understood the needs that were involved in the creation of this business. I allow myself to reflect on this now, so hopefully this can help you, help someone else. Don't bully yourself into opening or closing a business. Take a step back and enjoy the learning because what's meant for you will find you. I do believe that. What's meant for us will always come back. And so in this example, my role is not to shut down this idea of I want to create this beautiful designs and emblems on jewelry for women to give back. It's really to understand and to learn the different needs and the different negotiations that are happening between my mind and my ego versus really what my heart is saying. And what my heart is saying is put it all out there. Put it all out there. Let it be seen. Let it shine. And the ego is scared of admitting how wrong it was. And the mind is trying to negotiate, okay, but how do we make sense of this and let's find a purpose for it versus how do we make sense of what the heart is saying? Am I willing to do that? Am I willing to take on that desire? Am I willing to do the work it takes to put it out in the world? And am I assuming it needs to look a certain way? Or can I just purely make it my own. And once all these voices settle and we've made space for it, so it's not aching to be heard, then our intuition can speak. And even then, we might not yet be willing to hear and may not understand. And that is part of the process. We are meant to struggle a little bit, because in that struggle, we actually are able to discern and work with the other parts that are in the way of us hearing it. Otherwise, we wouldn't train our mind. We wouldn't learn to manage our ego. We wouldn't make room for our hearts to speak. If it was easy and you were allowed and you had every possible help, support to make it happen, what could it look like? Allow yourself to dream up a new scenario than what you would have expected before. For me, I would be free creating. I would be free creating and freely floating between two aspects of my life that I adore, whether it's one creative business or channeling and teaching and working one-on-one. There's the creative business and the playground to cultivate meaningful relationships around. And then there's the servient channel, the instruments that guides, that heals, that knows, that reflects, that transforms with people. And in this season, I'm navigating both for a purpose. One is not more worthy than the other. They have different functions and timelines. And by allowing myself to purely exist in both from an uninhibited place, I allow my ego to dissipate. I get to have both. I get to work with, on, pour, through, and receive from both. I get to own both. I get to fully own both and marry them fully. I get that. What do you get to do? I leave you with this question as I close out our session. I pray that you have received exactly what you needed today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you for joining. If you wish to participate as a guest on this podcast, you can submit an interest form below in the show notes. To learn more about SAEL and the intuitive guidance and coaching, I invite you to join my Substack community where I share channeled reflections, insights, and more. Join me at withsael.com. That's WITHSAEL.com. I wish you sovereign being and hope to see you on the next one with light and love and healing for all. Your host and SAEL.